You wake up at 5:48. No alarm. You stopped setting one 4 years ago when you realized your body had finally caught up with your life, when the thing pulling you out of bed became curiosity instead of obligation. The bedroom is quiet. The house is a 3-bedroom colonial in a suburb that nobody moves to on purpose. You bought it 14 years ago for $230,000. People thought you were settling. You thought you were calculating. It is worth $410,000 now. It has been paid off for 2 years. You are worth $3.1 million. Nobody knows this. Not your friends, not your coworkers. They see a man who brings lunch in the same container he has owned for 11 years. You get dressed, dark jeans, same brand, same cut, 5 identical pairs. Not because you cannot afford variety, because you solved jeans once and never needed to think about them again. You make coffee. The machine cost $240 7 years ago and still works perfectly. $8 a day on coffee is $2,920 a year. Invested for 30 years at 8%, that becomes more than $360,000. That is not a coffee purchase. That is a retirement account disguised as a habit. While the coffee brews, you open your laptop. 4 minutes. That is the rule. $2,100,000 in 3 index funds. Total market. International. Bonds. You have not made an active trade in 11 years. Not during crashes, not during headlines. You kept the automatic transfers running and let time do its work. $410,000 in home equity, fully paid. The deed sits in a fireproof box beneath the bed, beside your daughter's first drawing and a letter from your grandfather you have read more times than you can count. $380,000 in a taxable brokerage account, the bridge that lets you retire before retirement accounts become available. $80,000 in cash, 14 months of expenses. Cash is not an investment. Cash is what keeps investments from being interrupted when life surprises you. And $34,000 in an account your nephew doesn't know exists. One day, when he turns 18, a letter will arrive explaining that someone quietly planned for his future long before he ever asked.
$3.1 million. You close the laptop. The market will do something today. You will do nothing. You drive a 2015 Accord with 104,000 miles, paid cash, mechanically sound. Transportation was another problem you solved once. At a stoplight, a new Range Rover pulls beside you. Maybe the owner can afford it. Maybe they cannot. You do not know. But you know what $1,300 a month invested instead becomes. About $1.4 million over 25 years. The light turns green. Your Accord disappears into traffic, unnoticed. Exactly as intended. You have worked at the same company for 16 years, Senior Operations Director, $118,000 a year. Comfortable money, not $3 million money. That difference has protected you. During a meeting last year, your division head proposed a reorganization that would have made everyone's work harder for no real benefit. You calmly explained why it would fail. 4 clear reasons. The proposal disappeared. Later, a coworker asked how you spoke so confidently. You answered honestly, "I am not brave. I am just not afraid of the outcome." The morning passes. Meetings, decisions, problems that once felt overwhelming now feel temporary. Foundation changes everything. At 10:30, a young analyst named Jordan stops you in the hallway. 24 years old, smart, exhausted. He says he contributes to retirement. He follows a budget. Yet somehow he has $14,000 in credit card debt. You remember that feeling. You do not lecture him. You tell him the debt is only the symptom. The real problem is relying on willpower. Willpower gets tired. Automation never does. You tell him to automate every important transfer before he has the chance to spend it. Pay the highest interest debt first. Keep the cards open. Do not refill them after they're empty. He nods. Back at your desk, you send him the title of the book that changed your financial life. You cannot choose his future, but you can point him toward the door. Lunch is yesterday's pasta. $3.80 a serving.
Around you, people order $22 lunches while talking about how expensive life has become. Years ago, that made you feel superior. Now, it makes you feel nothing. Somewhere along the journey, frugality stopped feeling like sacrifice. Your phone buzzes. It is your brother. His car needs a timing belt, $1,100 he does not have. You recognize the hesitation in his voice, the hesitation of someone who has already run out of options. You tell him to send you the repair shop. You negotiate $50 off the labor. Then you transfer the money. He insists it is a loan. You never answer those messages. For you, $1,100 is a tiny fraction of your net worth. For him, it was the difference between moving forward and carrying another year of high-interest debt. Some investments never appear on a statement, but they produce the best returns you'll ever receive. Mid-afternoon, you find yourself looking at a camera lens you have wanted for almost 2 years. It costs $2,400. You could buy it without changing anything about your life. But you have a process. 3 questions. Will I still want this in 30 days? Am I buying the object or the feeling it represents? Who am I buying it for? You sit with the third question a little longer. Part of the answer is yourself. Another part is the version of yourself other people might see. That is enough. You close the tab. Not because you lack discipline, because recognition is stronger than willpower. If you still want it in 30 days, you will buy it without regret. The espresso machine passed that test years ago. You still use it every morning. You leave work at 5:10. Not early, not late. Years ago, you realized that staying longer rarely made tomorrow better. It only borrowed energy from the future. Your neighbor, Paul, is standing in his driveway. Paul has a boat, 2 new vehicles, a kitchen renovation that doubled the size of his home. He also once mentioned he could not afford to take 2 weeks off work. The payments would not allow it. You are not better than Paul. His boat probably creates memories your spreadsheets never could. But you remember watching your father lose his job at 56 with almost nothing saved. You remember the look on his face. And you remember the promise you made yourself at 21. Not a goal, a promise. Every automatic transfer, every ordinary Tuesday, every year you kept the same reliable car. That promise was being kept. Quietly.
Invisible wealth is still wealth. Visible wealth is sometimes just expensive noise. Dinner is simple. You eat together with the television off because that is simply what you both prefer. On your second date 23 years ago, your wife casually mentioned she had been saving 20% of every paycheck since her first job. You thought about that sentence for the rest of the evening. Since then, you have scheduled one money conversation every month. Coffee on the table. Numbers on the table. No surprises. Money problems are often not math problems. They are communication problems. You removed the communication problem. She built half of everything you own. Maybe more than half during the years her income exceeded yours. You built your future together. After dinner, you walk the same 2-mile loop through the neighborhood. Years ago, you passed the net worth you once believed would change your life forever. It happened while making a sandwich. No celebration, no dramatic feeling. The number changed. You did not. That was the lesson. Wealth is rarely about the finish line. It arrives long before the final number. It arrives the day a bill comes and you feel nothing. The day your company announces layoffs and curiosity replaces fear. The day you can say no without worrying what it will cost. Wealth is not measured by dollars. It is measured by how many problems permanently disappear from your life. Car repair, no problem. Medical bill, no problem. Helping someone you love, no problem. Losing your job, an inconvenience.
Money became a machine that quietly converts uncertainty into calm. Before bed, you read, not finance books. You stopped following daily market news years ago. Your returns improved. Tomorrow is ordinary. 2 meetings, 1 difficult phone call, your nephew's soccer game. One day, he will open a letter explaining that an investment has been growing in his name since he was 3 years old. Today, your money said nothing, which is exactly how you know it is working. Today, your investments earned money while you slept. You spent $28. You gave away $1,100 without hesitation. You walked away from a purchase you could easily afford. Nobody noticed. Nobody applauded. Tomorrow, the market will rise or fall. You will do nothing. Not because you were unusually disciplined, because you stopped interrupting what was already working. Real wealth becomes quiet. Quiet like a paid-off house. Quiet like a dependable car. Quiet like an evening walk after dinner. Quiet like a letter your nephew will one day receive and finally understand that someone who never talked much about money spent a lifetime saying everything through actions instead. That is the whole day. That is the whole life. Tomorrow begins again in exactly the same ordinary way. This content is created for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice. Carter Mills.